All right, all right, all right. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back to another open court discussion live in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me is my co host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Oh, you're making me smile tonight, people.
uh, Tonight, Monday, February 9th, we will be discussing the topic Clear the Clutter, Delete to Elevate. We will be covering a powerful topic that's all about making space for what truly matters, deleting things from your life. We're talking about cutting ties with negativity, habits that hold you back, the stuff that's weighing you down. Let's get into it and figure out what's worth keeping and when is it time to let it go. What's one thing you're considering deleting from your life in 2026? That's the question I want to know. What's one thing that you're thinking about deleting from your life this current year? Please like and share our video and don't forget to share with any other goal oriented individuals to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. 1,037 subs, still growing one day at a time. Continue to watch us work. Um, so here we are. And again, 1,037 subs and approaching like 450,000 views. Uh, can't wait to hit that million mark on y'all asses. uh, but here we are. You know, still cold and bitter. Still got that snow from a couple weeks that won't melt because the temperature has it uh, risen over shit. Maybe the most it's got is like 31, 32. But still there, still walking on like a skating rink. So that's pretty much that. I got other stuff we'll discuss as we get into it. But Herb, what's good with you?
I got a bombshell coming up. I'll reveal a little later in the show. But man, I got no complaints, man. Just dealing with the Super Bowl leftovers as usual. I know we haven't talked about it because it really doesn't because we're football fans. We don't tune in or tune out depending on what the halftime Super Bowl show is. For us, it's a moment to grab something to eat, maybe catch a quick nap from me sometimes, or just say, okay, who's showing? All right, cool. People, we need to understand something about this country that we live in that we call the United States of America. And I'm going to put this out there first. The United States is what we are. If you travel abroad, you go overseas, rarely do you say, somebody asks where you from, rarely do you say America. That doesn't register to us. We say we from the United States because that's what we are. America, however, is a concept. And despite what we believe, despite all the wars that this country has fought internally and now, I'm sorry, externally and now currently internally with illegal immigration, the U.S. Civil War, every other war that you could think of that this country hasn't been involved in through an act of Congress or just through presidential orders. The concept of America is where an individual can come and be free from persecution, regardless of what that persecution is. And we've seen a lot since the announcement of who was going to be the halftime show of why this person shouldn't be there or why this person shouldn't be allowed to perform. And you know what? I sat through and watched the entire thing. And I don't speak Spanish. And you know what? I thought it was a good show for a lot of different reasons. Now, you have somebody tell you that they didn't understand anything. And the question that they need to be asked is, why not? Well, I don't speak Spanish. No, but you probably listen to music. And most of the music that we listen to borrows music from a lot of different regions of the world that we don't know about. Because we as Americans now We have our heads inside this contiguous 48 states that we call the United States. And we don't want to know anything outside of this United States because we think the United States is everything. Newsflash, people. There are what? 8 billion people on the planet. Less than 1%, I think, 1 or 2% resides in the United States of America. There's a huge world out there. And I've often said it on this platform, especially during COVID. Go learn another language because it exposes you to different cultures. It opens up your knowledge base and your understanding of the world in which you live in. It's just like an inoculation. It helps you grow. Anybody that is disparaging a halftime show because they didn't understand it, tell them to go learn Spanish. And I get off my soapbox for that particular thing. But other than that, man, I got no issues, man. That's a good question you asked. I think for me, the one thing, and this goes hand in hand with the news I'll reveal later, is I'm trying to lessen my stance against not necessarily people, but situations that have gone awry in my life in which I've actually just kind of just burned the bridge and just destroyed the embankments. I'm starting slow. I'm gonna send out a little dinghy for people that don't understand what the term dinghy means. It's a little boat. I'm gonna send out a little boat, row across, and I'm gonna sit on that shore. And I'm gonna have a little bit of conversation, and then I'm gonna roll my dinghy back to my shore and take the information, and I'm gonna bring it to all you guys and all you women and everybody else out there that listens to us consistently, which I always greatly appreciate. So that you may take my experiences, David's as well, and we as a people, we as humans, we continue to grow and understand why certain things happen and why we find ourselves in certain situations and unable to grow and get beyond those situations. So that's one of the things that I'm looking to do this year. I started last year, with making, reaching out to the young man that I've spoken about, the whole fraternity thing. And I'm going to turn the corner on that one and bring it on home. Like I said, I'll update you later in the broadcast when we get to that point.
All right. And speaking on the whole immigration thing, well, I don't know. It might have been countrywide that many of the high schoolers decided to have a walkout in honor of the ICE and the injustice that they feel that is going on with that, and now I think is ready to seep into the middle school level. Uh, so kids will be taking a stance on that. Uh, as far as schools, guess you got to be prepared for all that's going to come with it. Whether it's kids just being out there just to be following, really not supporting the message one way or the other, but just instead of being leaders, just being followers and willing to cause havoc and use it as an opportunity. Now, with some schools, based on where they sit at, well, some kids took an opportunity like, shit, okay, I'm about to go to the store. I'm about to walk off school grounds and go here. And who knows? Probably about to go smoke a little weed. Or, and it depends on where the school is at. I guess if you're somewhere that you're nowhere near um, stores and businesses, then you'll keep most of them confined in that area. But if it's somewhere that's you have donut shops and stores and like I said, Dunkin' Donuts and different stores, oh, you know that it's going to be some that's going to use that opportunity to kind of get away, and that's where it becomes like a potential safety issue. But know that it's coming, and then once kids probably see that they pulled something off, then they'll start speaking up and trying to uh, walk out for any other reason, any other thing that comes. So stay tuned for that movement as these kids get further knowledge of things, and that's probably due to social media and things that they see. So now they're going to be, that might be another big part of schools, especially when you have like police brutality and different things like that. I can see kids now saying, you know what? We not about to be in school today the whole day. We about to walk out and we gonna make our signs and we gonna protest. So that might be taking it back into days when that was a common thing, and it may be something that's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, it's they say the more things change, the more they stay the same. And you made that's an excellent point because I was thinking about how this kind of ducktails into how turbulent the 1960s were, and I don't think anybody needs a history lesson for that understanding. And I think what school officials, law enforcement, especially law enforcement in cities where there's sanctuary cities, such as Minneapolis, I think what they're going to have to develop, because this is going to require everybody coming together, and they may want to start assembling task forces to impact this. So the way that it unfolds leaves nothing but positive avenues for people to go down because this can go one of two ways. This can be more destructive than what it is, and some people will say, "Well, how can it be more destructive than with ICE officials, you know, taking the lives of people? They can take more lives." Now, tell me what's worse: less people being taken out, or more people? That's what I mean. So they may want to establish task forces to try and direct people in the positive lanes, whether that be seeking public office, getting petitions written, and I always say this and I'll maintain voting. Because the sanctuary people have to realize something about the sanctuary cities. No one voted directly to have their city classified as a sanctuary city. And for those of you who don't understand what a sanctuary city is, a sanctuary city is essentially somewhere where the local government, without a vote, without any legislation that said, you know what, if you come here and you're legal immigrant, we are not going to help ICE or any other official, federal official, try and deport you. That's essentially what a sanctuary city is. So when you look at the places that are having this kind of upheaval, they tend to be sanctuary cities. You don't see this in Republican ran, Republican controlled states. Don't believe in it. And some people will say, why? Well, I could get into that at length, but I'm not going to here because this is not that platform for that. All I will say is, like him, dislike him, think he's racist, or whatever the case is, this is something that should have been addressed 40 years ago. The can's been kicked down the road. People are saying, well, it's the orange guy in the Oval Office fault. No, it is the fault of every president, every member of Congress, whether it be the House or the Senate, that has not addressed this in the manner that it needed to be addressed. So this situation that we are currently in did not arise. Those are the people that you should blame. Those are the people that should be held responsible. And the blood that comes from anything having to do with ICE actions is on their hands. Yes, they haven't committed the crime directly, but indirectly they have set the climate for it. And that's always the important thing. That's why David's talking about kids walking out of school because the climate is set for it. What are you going to do? Punish them? They're going to say, well, we have an amendment, we have a constitutional right. And they don't realize that they don't. Their parents do. Until you reach the age of 18, everything that you do as a child is governed by the state. A lot of people don't realize that. That's the importance of understanding why parents have parental rights over their children, but the state has the ultimate right because the state's the only one that can come in and take a child out of the home and replace it and place that child somewhere else. So just understand what it is that we are looking at as Americans with regards to this, because this is going to have long-reaching and far-reaching implications long into the future, these kids that are growing up through this, who may have had classmates taken out and deported, who were really good friends, that's a loss. That's a physical loss. That's mental loss. And these kids don't know how to deal with that. And I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned it. There's no class that teaches therapists how to deal with social media effectively, so the people who are being impacted negatively know how to navigate that. And that's one of the things that we have on the list today. But I'll yield. I don't want to be too preachy tonight.
Yeah, it was something that crossed my mind. Something that was said. Trying to think. It'll it, it'll come back to me. Oh, actually, yeah. So when you mention law enforcement and task force and stuff like that, and truly, the strength is always in the numbers. And simply, schools are really not designed uh, to maintain if major disruptions happen in
Mhm.
the school environment because you may have 70, 80 staff, uh might have a couple resource officers, you got some administration, some counselors, but in many other like middle and high schools you could have well over 1,000 to 2,000 students there, and if they ever decide to get buck wild, shit, staff ass is grass
Yeah.
and they the lawnmower. And that's just the bottom line. Lucky you don't have too many rebel runners like that. That most kids come and do what they need to do and fall in line. But you always have that 10% that maybe say, "Hey, let's get this shit popping today."
Yeah.
Uh, and those are the ones that people will gravitate to, and some will go on that side just for popularity or friendship wise, like, oh, I'm down with that person now, I could get some props because I was out there, I was out on video, I did this or I did that, and now I'm going to be amongst the popular students. So just never know. But at the end of the day, you would hope that any of this stuff was educational, you learn from it, and people they're heard and their message is valued, and we try to continue to grow as a country, as a society, and other things. But now getting into uh what is it, create eliminating, what was the title of it, what's
But
my
the color
notes that,
delete to elevate.
yeah, I done threw my notes away. I ain't throw them away, but they
Yeah.
somewhere. Here you go. Yeah. So yeah, clear the clutter, delete to elevate. So we talk about this, and everybody talks about trying to turn things around each year. And well, we always talk about the definition of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting different results. And truly, we all know that you don't grow or change until you feel uncomfortable. And a lot of times being uncomfortable is clearing clutter. You don't know how much clutter you can just have in an office space, in your home, at work, that you don't want to get rid of because you're afraid that you're gonna, if you throw something away, that you're gonna need it one day, and you just let stuff pile up and pile up and pile up. But I could tell you, once you do start getting rid of some things, even as far as clothes, sneakers, items, and you got a clear space, you feel better. You feel like you could breathe. Like, oh, I got through that. Didn't need it. Didn't hurt me. No harm. No foul. And you feel better. And that's the way it is with certain people or certain things in your life, certain habits that until you're going to feel uncomfortable, you're going to feel like, ah, should I have done that? And that's why some people hold on to certain friendships or lack of friendships forever because I guess also FOMO, fear of missing out, or thinking that, hey, they're going to move on and I'm going to be the outcast. But sometimes you just have to do things for yourself. And I always ask the miracle question: is that person, is your world better with or without that person? And and if you can name more, they got this going on, or I feel like this, or and if you can name more negative stuff than positive, then you already know your answer. And
Yeah.
you have to start cleaning the clutter out. So one of the first things that was mentioned, one of the first talking points was over like rescuing adults. Too many damn adults need to be rescued. Too many damn adults that looking for sympathy, not empathy, sympathy. There's a difference, people. And sometimes people use it in the wrong way or think that it's the same. Again, sympathy is when you want somebody to feel sorry for you, uh, to feel a lot of times, and you see it on social media. People want people to feel sorry for them. Instead of empathy, is you want somebody to feel with you. You want them to understand, or be in your shoes. And sometimes people have empathy because they can relate to certain situations and they feel with you, and they may self disclose and share with you, and it may make you feel better, like, wow, I never knew you went through this, or wow, how did you make it through that? But feeling sorry and rescuing adults, come on, come on. We already had the government does enough of that of rescuing people, and now I always mention it. You're rescuing people in schools and people looking for handouts. And I always said this, and this ain't my first time. Y'all do people more disservice with book back to school book bag drives and uh, toys for tots. You're taking away responsibilities for people, for parents or people who have no intention of changing their situation around. So you develop these communities that looking for handouts or not trying to clear the clutter and delete to elevate. They just say, well, you know what? I know this church around this time, they usually have this type of drive going on. So I'm just going to sit around and wait till I get the message. They usually post something on Facebook. Then I'm going to go there. Come on now. Where's the pride? Where's the pride at? And I'll leave it at that.
You learned helplessness. That's what they call it, and it's true. This and when we talk about these type of things, we're talking about people who are fully functional, emotionally autonomous. Because to say emotionally balanced leads to all kinds of inferences that people can draw from. But I want to eliminate that. So people who can emotionally regulate themselves. Everything that everything that we've done to this point in our lives has led us to where we are. Period. Every bit of food that we put in our mouth, everything that we drink, everything that we read, everything that we consume, everything that we do. So you have people out here talking about, well, I want to lose weight, and the next thing you see them doing is you see them at the fast food restaurant eating loads of stuff that they know it's nutritiously healthy for them. And you say to them, not to be flippant or controversial, pardon the pun. I thought you wanted to lose weight. Yeah, man, but I just needed something quick to eat. Okay, go to the store and grab you an apple. Although fruit isn't necessarily what it was for me, but it's still better. Go grab you some fruit. Go grab you some vegetables. Oh man, that stuff bland. I don't like the way it tastes. You really trying to lose weight? Like you really trying to get in a better shape? That's why I said for me, and I knew what my Achilles heel was pizza and wings. You haven't heard me mention pizza and wings too often in the last few months. My weight is kind of stabilized. It hasn't. It's gotten up from where it was. I was down about 270. Now I'm back up to about 280 something. But I know what I need to do, and I don't blame anybody else because I don't want anyone else to come rescue me until I do for self. Shout out to Carlos. It's important that we as adults start to understand that nobody's walking through that door, especially if you're a man with a fistful of dollars. Shout out to the song and a plan to help you achieve. That's something you got to do yourself. That's something you have to want bad enough to where you start down that road because all it takes is you to get up and start to move. And once you start to move, it's just like momentum. Newton's third law. Everything that any action requires an equal and opposite reaction. Ooh. And when you hit some object, that might slow you down. Hopefully you've generated enough momentum to push through that. It's tough. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that trying to lose about 100 pounds ain't tough. It is. But just imagine the elation you get when you hit the finish line. Your ego gonna be so big that they're gonna have to tie cinder blocks to keep your ass on the ground. And that's a good thing. Success is its own reward. You ain't gonna need nobody to tap you on the shoulder and say you did a good job. The mirror's gonna show that. You gonna go into the store, be able to buy regular size clothing. You ain't gonna have to go to the plus. Those endorphins release. All that stuff makes you feel better. You'll be able to go to the beach wear your bikini or your tankini or your whatever it is that you want. And you ain't gonna feel like everybody's looking at you for what you might think is the wrong reason. But you gotta start. And that's part of not having to rescue an adult is that adult, especially ones that is really, really self-aware. That say, you know what, man, I know. I know what I look like. I know what my shortcomings are. And this really extends to younger men, especially Gen Zs, because we hear and I hear a lot and I see a lot, especially on social media posts about their inability to be able to date successfully, their inability to be able to go out and procure sex at a consistent rate. I'm like, I don't know those struggles. I can't sympathize. I don't even know if I can empathize with you on that one, partner, because when we used to go out there with clubs and you put your name in a hat, put the hat in the ring, and hey, you got the squabbling, and sometimes you got rejected. And that's another thing we would probably cover on this platform is how to deal with rejection, especially for men, because it seems to be an overwhelming consensus that men don't deal well with rejection. So I just want to give you fellas some pointers and tips on how to do that. But like I said, that'll be done in another show. But it's a tough world out here. Nobody rolling out red carpets for you. Nobody holding your hand, especially once you get to a certain age. It's like either you do or you don't.
And one of the things too, and I've spoken on this before too, and I went back and forth with people. When people want to be rescued, when you come on social media and you ask people to pray for you, but say, "Don't ask me, don't ask, just pray." No, sir. No, ma'am. I don't know. Excuse my language. I don't know what the fuck you got going on. That that you could have just said. You could have been like in the heat of the battle, or know somebody on your ass, and you could have touched a kid inappropriately, or anything stolen from someone, and the heat is on, and you asking for prayer. Uh, Asking for prayer, but don't ask questions. Nah, I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that because I, I just wonder, like, Why are you bringing that to social media if you don't want no one to know or to not ask questions, whatever? You're looking to be rescued, or again, you're looking for sympathy. You want people to say, "Oh, what's wrong? What's happening? What's going on? Can I call you, or I'm about to inbox you?" Because if you're gonna be transparent, then you're gonna say, "Man, I'm going through it, man. My grandmother, she ain't doing too well, whatever. They just said she got days or something." And then you may get that vibe or different energy because people may know her personally or know your relationship with that person. But no, yeah, yeah, I want to play games and all of that stuff, but still want people to pray for you. Nah, you'll never see me with no black prayer hands up, whatever. Uh, like you on your own with that one because I don't know don't tell me to pray for you and don't tell me what it's for. And and people argue, oh, just pray. You just know. Y'all sound like idiots. Like somebody tell you, uh, yeah, I'm gonna walk you over here over this cliff. I'm gonna blindfold you, take a step forward, whatever. That's what just sound like. Nah, nah. Like,
Just,
come on,
just
get it
let me hold a
together.
couple of dollars. I'll pay you like Wimpy. I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Wait a minute, did you just borrow $2 from me last week for a hamburger?
Yeah, it just that's crazy. And even with the thing that the little trust activities that people used to do, and they like go fall back into certain people's hands and arms to see if they catch you.
Mm.
And, when the couple times I did that, I have to look to see who's your partner who's supposed to do it. No, thank you. I'll sit this one out, whatever. I don't think they'll do something to muck it up that I fall. No, thank you. I'm just I'm just saying you got to pay attention to your surroundings and have self awareness. But for people who come on and say things like that, don't ask questions. Just pray. They're looking to be rescued in a way, and I think they're looking for sympathy, but going about it in a different way. What they really want people is to keep begging and asking like, "What's wrong?" or even make a phone call. They may be just looking for one particular person. Say, "I got to get their attention," and that's what I think is about. Yeah, you heard it. Y'all out here attention seeking when you say that, unless you're gonna be transparent.
You know what the funny thing about that is? I see that a lot on Facebook, and I see it a lot with Gen X women. And I'm not picking on anybody, just so people understand. And usually, it has to deal with relationships or them being single or them unable to find the man that they want. And the questions that usually come to mind, I think they're self fulfilling prophecies, to be honest, but that's just my personal position. The question I have is that none of you are virgins. You've had multiple relationships with men that you've chosen, and they haven't worked out. So the question becomes, are you the problem by not being what it is that people want? Or is your selection criteria the problem? You'll have some women say, well, my standards have risen. Okay, cool. But what have they risen to? See, because once a standard rises, it no longer becomes an impediment or it shouldn't. It should actually clear the way for you to get to your goal. If somebody's looking to study, they generally don't go to a construction site where it's noisy. They go home to a library, they go home or to a library where it's quiet to where the situation is conducive to the productivity. You can't always succeed by saying, woe is me, I wish I had this. No, you got to start putting in your work. You got to start with the changes that make you more attractive to whatever it is that you want. I can't walk into a, a basketball court, even at my age, at 280 pounds, 290 pounds, talking about, oh, where you at? I'm about to dust you off. And he got a bunch of cats there, half my age, talking about, bring your out one that ass out here, pop, so you can tear an ACL or or pull a muscle. And the next thing you know, I can't jump, I got a bad knee. We told you sit your old overweight ass down. And that's what some of y'all look like. Y'all look like an over the hill man getting out there with people half your age trying to bang on the basketball court. It ain't gonna happen. Like my own homegirl Denise Scott said, stay in your lane. Everybody has a lane. Pick one, master it, stay in it. It's not that hard. Really, it isn't. You gotta understand that.
Yeah. The next thing is emotional oversharing. So let me just read you this definition to make it clear for you. The act of revealing deeply personal, sensitive, or excessive emotional information to someone, such as a colleague or acquaintance, who is not in an appropriate position to hear it. It involves bypassing normal relational boundaries to share intimate details too quickly, often stemming from anxiety, a need for validation, or the urge to process trauma without proper boundaries. So, again, you just don't dump everything on anybody. And we talked about this before about friends and friendships and sharing and being around people. If people see, the thing about it is, as you age, some people kind of get weeded out because we all go on different journeys. And certain people, they may be cool to be around, hang around every so often, but they're not in your regular rotation as far as sh- uh, emotional sharing or when people share too much at work. See, with me, you don't get what you gonna get from me. Hey, David. Hey, Mr. Glover. How you doing? How was your holidays? Good. Okay. That's all you gonna probably get. Now it depends on if we built a relationship that we could share. Then you may get more. But if you just a regular person passing by, I don't just talk just to talk, JBT, and just be talking to people. I'm not out trying to make more friends or build more acquaintances. If something happens, it's going to happen organically, but I'm not going to just share and divulge information to people who's not qualified. Again, I think we talked about this a couple weeks. Some of y'all get advice or share with people about relationships and knowing damn well these people ain't had no successful relationships. They don't have successful relationships at work. They don't have successful relationships with siblings, but y'all telling it all. Emotion over shit, tearing it up, sharing it all because of your anxiety. And I've mentioned it before. And a lot of y'all women, y'all quick to say, my anxiety, my anxiety. And like I said before, anxiety leads to depression. Uh, it's a precursor to that. So eventually, because anxiety is preoccupied thoughts uh, that's kind of racing through your mind. And if shit racing through your mind all the time, do you think that's going to make you happy? Or are you going to become sad because it's going to become overwhelming? And once that kick in the sadness, that's where the depression comes in. See how that works? But I can't tell y'all nothing. Oh, I just got anxiety. It don't mean I'm depressed. Okay, keep going with that and keep having the racing thoughts all the time and your mind is spinning and all that shit. And you're getting older and older. And sooner or later your movements, because remember the mind and body work together.
Oh,
And sooner or later, your head gonna be spinning and you just can't keep up. And then that's when you be in a funk. And like, I don't feel like doing anything. I'm tired because if you constantly that wears your body down. when you had a
Yeah.
stressful day and you got a lot on your mind, you become tired and you don't feel like doing nothing. And let too many of those days or months go by. And I heard mentioned earlier about weight. Now your ass sitting at 400 and you 50 something and you're like, oh, I'm going to get this weight off. Get the fuck out of here without some assistance. It ain't going nowhere. No time fast. No time fast. It just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. The mind and body is go hand in hand. And I'm not no workout guru. Actually, I haven't really did much workout. I get enough working out, walking around the school, but I haven't done anything extra in a while. And I know I need to get back to it. But I'm the type once I get back to it, because I believe in all it takes is 21 days for it to become a habit,
Mhm.
and then I'll do it. But once I stop, I may stop. But you gotta keep it moving. But remember that emotional oversharing. Got to be careful who you share with. And some of y'all, you could be in a goddamn grocery line somewhere and telling it all. Like the fuck, like what, what's all this about? Whatever. Like, but that's how some of y'all are. I'll let pass it on to Herb get his insight on this topic.
Yeah, once again, I'm gonna go back to social media. You see it often. People talking about, they've had bad relationships, they were abused as kids. Who is that specifically meant for? Because I don't think there's anybody on your friends list that's qualified to sit down and actually put you proverbially, pardon me, on that couch and dissect that and get to the root of that, which is what most people need. So, are you doing it to garner attention, garner some sympathy or empathy, or just to release it? Because all of this stuff is energy, whether you want to believe it or not, subscribe to metaphysics or not. It's energy. When you start releasing energy in an uncontrolled manner to people anywhere, you start to infect them. So you got a person who potentially, you know, had a series of good days. They went to the doctor. The doctor said, "Oh, you're doing pretty well. Let's decrease the dosage on your anxiety medication." You say, "Good, I feel good." You pick up your phone. You found out your best friend engaged in some self-deletion. You said, "Damn, they were just starting to turn around," and all of a sudden, now guess what? You posted you just came from a doctor. They decreased your meds on your script, and now you see this, and now you don't know how to feel. Sometimes you gotta put that phone down. Sometimes you have to stop being the person that somebody else emotionally overshares with. Especially with somebody, if I'm on Facebook and I see somebody that's been on there 10, 15 years and they only got a couple hundred friends, that tells me something about them. That tells me, A, they're very restrictive, which is not in and of itself a problem. But if I see only a certain type of demographic associated with that individual, I know that individual is closed off. They're probably not learning much. They're probably doing less. And if you go to the interview to read what they post, if they post daily, there's nothing uplifting. There's nothing fun. There's nothing that's gonna help you grow. There's nothing that you probably want to read. I know my profile is open. I've been saying that for at least a decade. My profile is open, and I don't post that up. Usually, I'll share a lot of stuff, some stuff that I think is funny, some things that I think are poignant. Rarely do I get into politics and share anymore, even though I'm into politics, because I realize that politics tends to be divisive among a lot of people. It ends relationships, it ruins friendships. I'm not in doing that. I will chime in from time to time on politics and just let that be what it is. I'm not necessarily trying to alienate anybody. I'm not necessarily trying to garner any friends. I see where people stand and I see what they think and I understand how they move, and that's cool because that's at the end of the day, we should all want that from the people that we associate with. Because if you understand how people move, you understand how they think, you never be disappointed with something that they do. You say, "Oh, that doesn't surprise me. That's how they do. That's what they think." But when you got people that just randomly, they all over the place and they're chaotic and they happy one moment, they depressed the next moment. You say, are you manic depressive? Have you sat down and talked to somebody about this? I'm not saying you need to get medication. Maybe you just need to talk through some things. But what I see on your profile, what I hear about this from work, you you need to sit down and just dial it back a bit. And I'm kind of grateful that even with the two jobs I have, I only work with a handful of people. I work with three other people. So the things that I share at the one job, usually they're work specific. So, we share some things about how we grew up, the situations we've endured, because those are the type of constituencies that we're helping. So none of that pushes us to one side or the other side. It keeps us kind of centered as to why we're doing this job, other than the paycheck. So, the things you share is like, what? Have you spoken to this client about this? Because I know you went through this. Maybe you can lend your expertise to this client about this. And that's what we do. So, in context of what the work is beneficial. But just to be doing it, just to be doing it, no, I gotta stop that. Because what you don't realize is that you paint an image of you in somebody else's head, and you one day you walk around, you'll say to yourself, "I don't know why everybody thinks that about me." Well, damn, you're a hell of an artist, and the paintings that you're painting, they leave an impression. And if you don't want people to start looking at you and thinking about you a certain way, stop posting certain things on social media. Keep those things internal. Matter of fact, I'll tell you this: write a diary. All those thoughts that you want to put on social media that don't necessarily need to be shared, but you want to get them out, write a diary. And then turn around and you know what you can do with you can do that. You can develop a pen name like Samuel Queens, and you can write about it. I'm just saying. I'm right over here. Stop.
And sometimes some of you you show your hand too soon, and when you show your hand too soon, like when you playing spades or any card game, and somebody know what you got and somebody you working with, then you become the like sacrificial lamb or something. You become that person that yeah, got you where I want you. And and I keep saying, and I mean, I'm kind of mild tone, monotone on these shows, but yeah, I don't know. People don't know what's in store once I get up out the school system. They don't know what's in store, or what's coming. But I can share example of somebody showing their hands at work. About 3 years ago, somebody comes in to the schoolhouse and they start asking about my leadership skills. But they were asking coworkers that I'm cool with. We don't have no issues. We've been working together a couple of years. We laugh. We share stuff. We we keep to we keep to ourselves as counselors, but we still have a good time. They come in and asking and questioning and about me, uh, because of the color, and they thought that that was the calling card that they can come in. Now they just came into the environment, into our environment, just came to the school, uh, and not knowing again KYP. Everything I talk about, I always say, know your personnel. Came in asking about me, but they thought because the color was going to generate more information, and they would, so they came in kind of emotionally oversharing their motive, and it backfired. And they were like, "Yo, like, what are you fishing for?" Like, kind of like, "That's my guy." Like
Yeah,
we're cool. Oh, we have no issues here. I feel like you're making me uncomfortable, and it's been downhill since. And unfortunately, sometimes you come in with oversharing with people, and they find out what your motives is. Now you backed in the corner, and now instead of you're 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 fishing for information about one person, but now you got three or four people looking at you side eyed, like, oh, I don't fuck with him, I don't mess with him, or her. So leave emotions. Sometimes you gotta use logic instead of emotion. Uh, Learn how to go about your level of questioning or finding out information. Maybe it's a skill to it, and some people just don't have it. But more will come out about that situation as time progresses. I got their ass. I'm gonna have their ass on a platter, and that's just how it is. And I don't care. And
yeah, it's
that's emotional oversharing.
yeah. Um, and just to put a cap on that, we're not telling you not to share. As David said earlier, understand who you're sharing with and why. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Because I don't tell everything to all of my friends. There's some friends and family members, for that matter, that I'll tell select things to, and then other friends I'll tell other things to, because I realize that all my friends have a great skill set when it comes to certain things. I can talk to certain friends about money. I can talk to certain friends about family relationships and things of that nature. And some people say, well, why don't you get a friend that you can talk to about everything? Because they don't exist. No one, and I mean no one on this planet, has a friend they can talk to about everything, because we as humans, we're deficient. That's why we eat different foods. We eat different foods to get nutrients from this one, vitamins from this one, this from this one. That's and there's nothing wrong with that. You don't necessarily have to look at something as being the utility friend of everything. I always go to this person for advice. What happens if that person is no longer available to you due to a change in schedule or whatever the case is? The person might be in the hospital for a bit. They can't have contact or whatever the case is. You have to be. It's just like investing. You have to be able to diversify, and there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. Never look at it as a negative. Develop your friends, develop yourself.
Yeah. And the thing about this stuff, it's just for you to take a step back and to think about it. And many of you may not watch the show, and you may just see short clips, and which may lead you to click on and say, "Damn, I need to hear more about that particular part," or whatever the case is. But trust me, it's all good, and it's all coming from wisdom and experience. This ain't no research based shit out, no book, no encyclopedia or whatever. This is personal experiences, and experiences is the best teacher
No,
when you think of certain situations. So moving right along, delete loyalty to people who embarrass you in private but praise you in public. Mm, mm, mm. That's saying a lot. Saying a lot. People like, damn, embarrass you in private but praise you in public. What does that look like? What does that look like? Uh, I guess it looks like I could think of in relationships that two people squabbling. They saying this, saying that. You ain't shit, this and that, saying the harsh words and all that stuff, and making somebody feel like shit all the time in private. But then when you go out, you gotta put a smile on your face. Like he always tell, oh, you don't give a fuck about this. You don't take care of the household. You don't do that. But meanwhile, he know you grinding. You in school, you grinding, you trying to get your salary up. But then in public, she's my everything, man. She's such a hard worker. I don't know what I would do without her. And you thinking, for real? For real? When we just got out the car, you was just roasting me about this and that. God, how long do you want to? How long you want to be a part of that masquerade? Uh, that mask, whatever. That you get beat down in the house, then in public, oh, you the trophy. You this and that. Let's put a fake smile on, or whatever the case is. How long you could take it? That's the bigger issue. How long are you willing to put up with that? Because if you can't chill and be relaxed in private during your moments of not being around people and you getting broad beat down all the time, but then in public, oh, want to hold hands, want to give me a kiss, oh, I love you so much. Meanwhile, in private, shit, I can't even say it. It's just verbal. Some of it is physical. Some of the damage is physical. How long you gonna put up with that? Talk to me, people.
And this is why I am committed. When I talk about situations, I am committed to not naming names. Why? Number one, first and foremost, it allows somebody to save face. I was talking about getting grace and getting grace. I'm going, and you hear it here first. Nobody else has got to put this out there, and I'll put it out there. I'm going to consult with the woman who I had um the the uh the birth issue with, the whole um damn, lost the words for it, the whole paternity issue with. I don't know when. It'll probably be sometime this month, and I will keep you guys abreast of the information that I come out with. Now, some people will say, "Well, I thought you swore." I did, but you know what? I come to realize the older I get, the more intrigued I become by how things ended up the way they did. Now, that's not to say that the decisions made then were bad decisions, because I think a lot of people look at situations that we made, whether the situations had a good outcome or a bad outcome, or just had an outcome. They say, well, because this leads me to another question too. And I'll pose that after this. They will say, well, you were engaged with the wrong person. You engaged at the wrong time. No, not necessarily. The outcome was what the outcome was. Now, there's an element of truth to saying that if I met this person some years removed, the outcome would have been different. Yeah, because I probably wouldn't have dealt with that person in a particular way I dealt with that person. So there was a question that came up on Eight at the Table, which is another podcast that talk about usually mostly dating topics related, and they were asking about when should two people have sex? Is it too soon? And I've always said take sex off the table when dealing with somebody, not because I think it's too soon, but because I think it clouds the judgment. That's why I say take sex off the table. Now, me personally speaking, I don't actually think there's a such thing as it's too soon. Why? Because sex doesn't change the dynamics of the relationship, but it changes the dynamics of how we think about the individual that we engage in sex with, particularly if the sex is physically gratifying. They start to say, ooh, I get to go home to this every night, or I can call this over and I can do this. Man, they looking at They looking at that outcome like I the jackpot, failing to realize that this individual might be underemployed. This individual might have children that they're not taken care of in a way that you would want children to be taken care of. There can be a whole list of things. That's why I say it's never such thing as too soon. Just the wrong person, and that's what usually gets us in trouble. Now, me saying the female that I dealt with was the wrong person, no, wrong time, perhaps because she had some things, and I'll find out. I'm speculating right now when I say that she had some things that weren't quite resolved in her actions that I wasn't fully aware of. It happens. I was 23, 24. I'm not going to hold my feet to the fire for something I did when I didn't know as much as I do now. This is why we bring this to you. This is why I talk to young kids about, hey, David always talks about situational awareness, where you can only have so much awareness. And that usually comes from information. And if we don't provide the youth with the information, we shouldn't expect them to make really good decisions. They don't have the wherewithal to do it. This is why we push and we push and we push. Give these kids the information. There is no such thing as too much information. Because guess what? When you have a lot of questions that you can't answer, you tend to ask somebody who you think can give you the answers, or if not, you tend to ask somebody who you think can help push you in the right directions. You filling out your case in point, when we were filling out financial aid information, we went to somebody who we know understood how to fill it out. We didn't go to somebody we know couldn't fill it out. There were no help to us. We tend to underestimate a lot of people, especially you, in terms of thinking what they're gonna do because we think we know more than they do. And we should. We're older. So it doesn't surprise me when adults act like that. But then I turn around and ask an adult, is there anything that you don't know something about? They say, well, yeah, plenty. Who do you ask? Well, somebody that knows more than you. Well, that's what that child is doing. That's what that young adult is doing. So when they come to you, don't dismiss them as if they're stupid. Just say, hey, you know what? I understand. I was there before. You have to meet them where they are to bring them up. If you're gonna beat them down, beat them down, beat them down, then don't expect them to come to you for any information. And when they don't say, well, they don't trust me. There's a reason why they don't trust you. You're beating up on their self-esteem. And nobody wants to talk to somebody where they're always being lectured. Think about it. We didn't like being lectured when we were younger. Why the hell were kids like it now when they're being lectured? So stop giving them information and giving it to them in a manner that they don't feel bad about. They say, you know what? And I'm sure David can attest to this. You know what? You're all right, man. I usually hear a lot of stuff about you, man. I'm gonna put in the word for you, and that's how that stuff starts.
And I think with some of that, like with all the lecture and all that, that's why the beauty of art of storytelling is important. That if you can find a connection, or if the person is engaged by who you are and they like being around you, they're gonna be more receptive to you sharing stories, uh, and giving you a little insight. And trust me, they will hold on to that, uh, for for their sake. And this is it ain't traditional, but sometimes I have to throw my students a little bone just to mess with them, just to see where they at. So of course they always want to know because they're they're intrigued. Huh, Mr. Glover, you married? You have anybody? Or such and such? Why? What are you gonna do with that information? So I'll tell them something. Yeah, and this is wrong. Yeah, I'm probably like, oh, you wrong for that. So, but I told him, yeah, like, well, how old is your wife? 80, 80. Like, because I have to keep the middle schoolers' brains thinking. 80. But how old is you, Mr. Glover? Uh, 60 something? They're like, he is not 60 something. He might be 40 something, 50, 80. And then I was like, so how's
Because
y'all relationship?
I can hear the conversation. That's
And
why.
then I told him, well, she died. And they're like, she died. So then that became like the ongoing, it went like the students who were initially a part of the conversation, they kind of, because they know that I'm BSing, but they kind of laugh about it. They make jokes about it, and other students would come in and they be like, "So why y'all laughing?" And that, like, Mr. Glover, your wife died, and because so it's like an ongoing thing. They're like, "Oh, Mr. Glover missed his wife so much, whatever, that he sleep with her wet dress on," and and they say little stuff like that, and I just keep it going on. But meanwhile, they hone in on that. I can still convey a message
Right.
to them uh by storytelling. And this one is just it just be a complete story because I'm not self-disclosing, giving y'all any information, and I'll feed y'all with a wooden spoon along the way, and they just eat it up. But it builds relationships, whether and it's probably not traditional, but I'm not trying to do everything that everybody else do, and I believe sometimes with kids you got to have laughter, and you could break through with laughter. Um, to kind of ease some of their pain. So I'll be the person. I'll take the hit. Oh, you got an 80-year-old woman. Oh, she died. She couldn't even get into bed. She get into bed sideways, and they come with all these jokes, whatever. Yeah, people, the kids, like I said, who were not a part of like that's so mean. But it let me know that they have compassion.
Yeah.
Like, why are y'all
Yes.
laughing? Uh, so you start seeing other people's character, and it's like this that's not funny. But the ones who know, like, Mr. Glover, he just talking crap to us, whatever, because that's how I do it. I mean, other people probably don't do it that way, but that's why I am who I am. But you got to find ways to kind of break through, and I think the art of storytelling. Sometimes stories are fiction, sometimes they're nonfiction. But once you get them engaged, their ears is open. So they always waiting for me to say something, to spoon feed them something, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. So the art of storytelling is a amazing thing when you build in relationships.
And I think that's lost on a lot of people. And you know what? I the more I work with public, especially in the capacity that I am now, the more I realize how quickly I can connect with somebody. Like I'll somebody come up to them wearing Philadelphia Eagles. I'm like, oh, I can't check you in. Or charge them twice. And I say, why? I say, because you're wearing Eagle gear. Immediately, there's a connection. Even though the jokes are tongue in cheek, wife will come up, or he's funny. I like him. Whatever it is, it's being able to bridge the gap of somebody that you don't know quickly and do it in such a manner that it breaks down the barriers. You can sit there, you can have a discussion about a million one things because you've already created a baseline. But what this talks about is publicly embarrassing you, but then supporting you in private is a backhanded compliment. And I think most of us have probably received one, may have even given one. And we don't necessarily intend for it to be that way, but that's what it is. So you ask yourself, why am I around this person when this person has this disdain for me, and and they don't seem to either care or acknowledge it. And then when you bring it to their attention, they say, that's just how I am. No, no, that's not just how you are because you don't treat anyone else like this. I'm the only one in the crew that gets that treatment. And then the reality comes out and say, well, you know what? You need to fix some things about yourself. You do this, 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 and we always have it covered for you or this. And you'll find this situation in work where there's a lot of group projects. Some people will say, well, this individual is pulling their weight. I don't like working with him. I don't like working with her. You know, they can't dress. Their shoes are all raggedy. They come in with their hair uncombed, looking unkept, their breath stinks. You'll find it all, especially where there's money on the line, promotions on the line, and people are just, they just plain cutthroat. They will say, you know, oh, that person's great to work with, but you get behind closed doors, and especially if they think you ain't around. Oh, they ripping your reputation down like a demolished building, like the building that needs to be demolished. And people say, well, why do they do that? They lack the integrity to actually sit there and discuss something with you in a healthy manner. Now, there's a way that you can actually speak to an individual and let them know what your concerns are. But you have a lot of people that can't do that. They've never been taught, and more importantly, they don't think it's necessary until somebody walks up to them and either chin checks them or they got to deal with HR.
Mm.
And I've seen that. I've seen people, they get called out on something, and they sit in HR and they say, "Well, damn, everybody in the office knows it." Yeah, but you were the dummy that said something. Because you were the dummy that said something, now you got to deal with HR. We just had a sexual harassment training at work, and I was like, "Yo, this stuff gets more bizarre by the year." I mean, it's to the point now where I just say hi to people, and if it ain't work related, like David said, what you gonna do with that information? What you want to know that information? Yeah, it's not gonna benefit you. So, man, hi, bye. Yeah, the weather's fucked up. I almost froze walking to work. Any more questions? Short and sweet.
Yeah, so that's one of the things you gotta be mindful of when you think about that, how people treat you in private and compared to how they treat you in public. You keep your eyes and ears open for that. Let me see the. All right, number four was hard work alone is not enough. Uh, you know, one of the things when you think about hard work, it's other intangibles with hard work uh, that sometimes you might have to delete a situation because somebody could work hard all the time and that could be their whole focus, but you also have to have soft skills in certain areas that uh, it's not always about hard work. I always talk about having a balance. And when you get a certain age, you say, shit, I want to work smart. So
Hmm.
sometimes working smart is better than working hard. Uh, but then you may have people that does all they know is hard work. If you have the ability to work smart, you're not going to work hard because you're going to be able to have the skills to have other people join in to make things much easier. Like if you at work and you work with coworkers, everybody's at its tension and have a lot of dissension between you, not much gonna get accomplished. But if you have folks that willing to go to bat for each other, you're not gonna really work hard because y'all gonna tackle everything together. Or you get this your strength, and you do this, and shit, you're gonna be done after a while. Sitting around like with your feet kicked up, like we already handled this because we had the brain power, and we knew our personnel, and we knew what to do. So it's sometimes it's not always about hard work because sometimes you got to have social skills, and it reminds me of every year I have presentations with kids. Some kids work hard, they get straight A's, but they have no social skills.
Yeah.
All they do is work hard, and they don't have a balance. And where you have some people, they may not work as hard, but they can work people,
Right.
and they can get people to follow their lead, and they don't have to do much, but the outcome is always the same or even better than the person who worked hard but didn't bring other people in. So you got to think about that too, as when you start thinking about deletion of things, whatever. You get a certain age, you really don't want to work too hard. You want to work smart. You want to use your brains. You want to work. You want to work together. Two people working hard and without a balance, when you think about relationships, there's going to be two miserable motherfuckers. They're just going to be miserable. Just be miserable unless you're able to minimize the work effort and bring other people in to make things, to simplify things for yourself.
And we see it, and I'm going to mention football, among other sports. We see it every year, every time someone is crowned champion in a sport, particularly where the sport's not an individual sport. So, not golf per se, although, a lot of golf professionals have swing coaches, tennis. People have tennis coaches, but you don't hear about them. But you go to football, you hear about a head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, defensive line coach, offensive line coach. And we see it with the Bills, although there's a whole lot of controversy. Bean has been promoted to president. Now he's got to assemble a staff under him that's going to work. So now he's delegating. He's going to have to go out and get it. Well, he's probably, I don't know if he's going to retain being a GM, but he might have to go out and find a GM. GM's going to have to go out and find scouts. They have to assemble all this under one umbrella for one common thing, and that's to be labeled champion. So, like the thing I pulled this from said, you can work as hard as you want to, but if you don't have a plan, you might as well be spinning your wheels in mud. You may as well be stuck like a car in the wintertime, just spinning on ice. Tires burning rubber. You see the smoke, burn. They done spun them so long. So damn, how long are you gonna sit there and do that before you realize you can't go anywhere? You need some help, or at least a plan. We see it. People won't either acknowledge it or they'll dismiss it, and then they wonder why somebody came in the company. They've been there 2 years, and then they got two promotions. It's not that they're smarter than you. They just manage assets better than you. Somebody sees that in them and says, you know what? We need to get this person in a position where they can do more for the company. So yeah, they get promoted over you. You come in, you do your 8 or 9 or whatever it is. You never seek anything extra. You never have any critical input to a project. Nobody ever speaks about you and your ability to do this and your ability to do that. And they say, well, damn, yeah, you're valuable in as much as you're punctual. You come in, do your job, but damn, that's it. You're not trying to be anything better. You're not learning anything outside of this. You're not necessarily a people person because I'm labeled as that. I'm labeled I'm not a people person. I say, believe it or not, I said I'm a great people person. I said what I don't do is I don't try and push my way into people's lives. I don't necessarily try to push my way into certain positions because I've not been asked. So people say, well, why does someone need to ask you to do something? Great point. People don't. But I also realize that some people don't like to be instructed. So I will ask, Can I help you with that? And I've done this. I've done this to people I don't know. You need some help? Yeah. Can you tell me what such and such is? Oh, yeah. Go there. I've gotten really, really good at that. Just looking at people and see that they need something. And sometimes that's what it's about. It's about letting down your guard enough to say, okay, you know what? I'm not proficient in this area. And that's okay because none of us are born being proficient, except using the bathroom. That's about the only thing we can do proficiently. So don't take it as a slight that you might need direction. Don't take it as a slight to where you might need something from somebody, even though this person might ridicule you. You could turn around and 3 years later, you'd be sitting at as this person's um I don't want to say employer, but you can be sitting as a director where this person is still in the same position. Matter of fact, I'll pull out a movie that most people probably you never heard of, but Band of Brothers. Major Sobel and Captain I can't remember the other gentleman's name. One was played by Mike Swimmer, and this is based on true events. He got promoted during wartime and he came back and they outranked him. And a guy hated him so much that when he walked by, he didn't salute him, which is if you're former military, you know that's a breach of protocol. And he said, Major, you salute the rank, not the man. And that stuff happens. But we have to learn not to take everything so personal, even when it's geared to be personal. Because you realize at that point, you say, you know what? Yo, this cat hit me with his best shot and I ain't phased. Just imagine the kind of power that gives you when somebody belittling you, trying to tear you down, and you standing like a lighthouse at the edge of the shore. They say, "Oh, look, that man ain't that man, that woman. They ain't to be toyed with. We done threw everything at them, and they still standing tall. Matter of fact, not only are they standing tall, they moving forward. So that's why it's important to have a plan and to understand that although it's taking some time, if you believe in what your plan is, you got nothing to worry about. Especially if what you've done prior has always been effective. Because that's how we can tell. You can say, well, hey, I've never known this person not to succeed when they've had the will in place and that plan. They've gotten to everything every metric that they've ever wanted to hit, they made. I'm in their corner. Whenever you need something, this is how you build bridges. People will say, well, hey, look, I don't know where you're gonna be in 4 or 5 years, but hey, if I can ever write you a letter of recommendation or you need something, you have my number, you have my email, reach out to me.
Yeah, and it just makes me think of, and I haven't talked to her for a while. It makes me think of one of my deans at college that and I've shared this before that I had to get a recommendation letter from her, and most people don't invite you in their homes, and she was living on Grand Island, beautiful house right by the water, and told me to come pick up the recommendation letter. Gave me a tour of the house, and told me, as long as you work on this computer right here, it will always be a recommendation letter for you. This is a white woman. I'm a young black man coming in there, but it's the way you got. Sometimes you got to be uncommon. The way you conduct yourself, that you get praise. Granted, over the years, of course, I worked jobs that I built other recommendations that I never had to go back to her, but she's one of them people that will always be ingrained in my heart, from experiences, and the way that she treated me. Yeah, she will always be a part of my story. Shout out to you, Dr. McGlynn. Don't know if she's alive or not. I hope she's still alive. She was pretty healthy, sharp, but that was years ago. Shit, I'm an old man now. I'm getting old. So she was old, but older than me. So I don't know. But shout out to you uh, for the relationships that you built and the closeness that we had as one. But I'm gonna move on to uh, tolerance, disrespect disguised as jokes. Well, if people keep saying the same jokes or clowning you about the same situation and they say, I'm just playing, I'm just fucking with you. Nah, there's some truth to it. There's some truth to it. And it depends on how long you gonna be the clown
Hmm.
in the clown show that you gonna tolerate it. Like if people talking about what you got on, you're clowning about your job situation or whatever, sooner or later, they not joking. They sending out a firm message to you, and for you to either see me, I always say I'm a counter puncher, so I'm gonna counter your ass some way, somehow. But some of y'all just take straight jabs, hooks, uppercuts, and all that stuff, and say, "Hey, I'm all right. I'm all right. That's my homeboy. That's my girl. That's my friend. That's my bro. That's my sister friend." All the little things, but I keep saying something to you over and over. It ain't a joke no more. And now I've said this before. A joke is only a joke when both parties are engaged in the joke. If one person ain't laughing and you keep saying the same thing and you don't see them cracking up or they just kind of looking at you like, not again. Here you go with this shit again.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a joke. You're trying to humiliate that person. And when people try to humiliate you, how long are you going to deal with it? Or are you going to say, yo, don't fucking call me. Don't invite me to nothing because I'm not your punching bag or somebody you're going to tee off with and think you're going to get off on. Gotta let it go. Gotta let it go for mental health purposes and sanity wise, or for you not to put your foot in somebody's ass because
Hmm.
you let the shit build up. So you gotta think about that.
Yeah, disrespect is especially when somebody tries to mask it, it can be tricky to handle, especially if it comes from the opposite gender. Because as a man, you can't put that aura out there that you'll whoop a woman's ass. It ain't gonna go. Let's create a scenario. Let's say you at work and you're not the flyest of dressers, but you think you are. And you get this one female who let's face it, low key, everybody trying to smash. Even some of the women are pushing up on her. So she got her ass on her shoulders and she make a snide remark about you. You unsure how to address it. So being that you're unsure, because it's not something that you really want to go to HR. You don't necessarily want to create that kind of environment that you can't take a joke. But 3 weeks in a row, she's shoot off this little remark, trying to get a little dig in, trying to get a reaction. You say, "Okay, you know what? I had it," and you read it a riot act. When somebody get winded, you read it a riot act, and they report you to HR. You're insensitive. You talking about this. You know how she feels about the fact that she's using synthetic hair because she has alopecia and or she may have been a cancer survivor. So she had chemo, so she has a difficult time getting her hair to grow. And now you in the crosshairs. You say, well, damn, all I did was defend myself against unsalacious or salacious attacks that were unprovoked. They said, well, we don't know anything about it. You say, well, because I didn't report it. They say, well, if you didn't report it, pretend it didn't happen. Meanwhile, you got an office full of people who witnessed it. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that when you have to deal with somebody that's being malicious and there's a gender dynamic? I will tell you this: at the first sign of the perceived slight, let it be known right there where it occurred. Look, I'm not sure who you think I am. I'm not sure what you think I am. But if you say something to me like that again, we might have a PJ Carlissimo, um, trust people situation going on. And the people that know, they gonna know. You know, you ain't said you gonna whoop nobody ass. You just say, yeah, there might be a situation in here where we gotta get some people in between us. HR's gonna find out about it, and HR's gonna want to know what happened. Indirectly, now you say, look, I'm not gonna tolerate being somebody's whipping boy, or I'm not gonna tolerate being somebody else's whipping girl. And the situation is handled. But you had to do something kind of drastic. You had to say, hey, look, I ain't that guy. I ain't that female. And it happens, trust me. There's especially now with the number of let's face it, doesn't necessarily have to be male or female, just the number of people we have in the workforce that have adopted different personalities. So you got people who identify in different ways other than the two binary genders. Hey, you never know how it pops off. And when it pops off, I'm just saying, be ready. Be ready to use any method necessary to defend your position. That way, you can maintain your employment, and you can keep your dignity, and people understand. Hey, look, leave him alone. He ain't the person to be trifled with, or she ain't the person to be trifled with, or they ain't the people to be messed with. And that's how you get beyond that. Because once you set boundaries and foundations, people will fall in line quickly.
Especially if you're consistent with it and they know
Mhm.
that's their stance. They ain't moving off that point. So you better off you better off running down Highland naked and thinking thinking you go move this person on a stance. But that's that's how you establish your identity
Mhm.
when people know like shit he ain't moving like we already know not to come with him with that. He ain't gonna move off the stance because that's when you become who you are.
Mhm.
Too many times people are fickle and their identity is based on other people's identity, so they're never a tr- they never become a true person or never become whole because they're only shells of themselves. Depends on who they with. Depends on that. If they with this crew, they gon' uh even our save guys. You might be like, okay, they like to drink, throwing back up be here. Then you might be one person. I like to do a little heavy drugs, whatever. Shit, are you gonna do it because you're with them? Or you somebody that stiff as this is what I do, this is what I drink, this is how I do. I go out for this amount of time and I'm out. I
Mhm.
don't get thrown off my block or my circle behind anyone. Yeah, when you become that person, shit, they already know. You become respected because you stand for something. And many of y'all just shit, you could talk y'all out of anything. Uh, and and that's where it becomes an issue. So that tolerance, disrespect, joke stuff, you got to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Got to pay attention to it. And you may have some people like, you know how they are. Nah, every time we get around certain people, they want to tee off on me. They
Yeah.
want to say this or say that. Nah, I'm not going for that. So if you think it's going to lead to a violent nature, then you know, like, nah, don't invite me to that. And you might ask for who gonna be there, because you know if you think you're gonna be the target and it's gonna be some embarrassment or some things sent your way, then you don't want to be a part of that. So be mindful of that. Number six, it said waiting for closure. Hmm. A lot of times people wait on closure. You wait on somebody to say, it's over. I don't want to deal with you no more. This isn't working. Or, so you want to delete people that you got to wait for closure. Or do you understand the ability to say, man, this should change? We used to talk all the time. We used to call each other, text each other in the morning, text each other throughout the day. At the end of the day, we get off work. We used to talk, communicate. Now it's nothing. But you still waiting around, and that person semi ghosts you, and you know, but you still waiting around for them to say, it's over. It's over. I'm not feeling you anymore. But their actions showed you, because they don't do the same things anymore. So you don't have to be given your walking papers. Okay? You could decide to walk on your own. And that's the best antidote. Like, damn, oh, I haven't been feeling him, but usually he would say something, and I'm used to his response, and I might not always get back to him at the time. Now he don't say shit.
Yeah.
You know why? He moved on.
Mhm.
He ain't wait for closure. He said, fuck your closure. I'm out. I'm not about to
Yeah.
deal with this.
Yeah.
And kept it moving. And now he's at peace. And he might have found something else. Secure. Security. Hmm, that's how that worked.
Yeah. People often talk about in relationships, whether they're platonic or whatever, is the power dynamic or power imbalance, and it exists. I mean, there's no two ways to put it, especially for people who aren't honest. And I think that's what a lot of this boils down to is people who actually put their feelings on the table, and we talked about this last week with side pieces, their intentions. And this is part of the reason why a lot of people think that men and women can't be friends. Because you got somebody who they're not being honest. They're not coming into the situation and saying, hey, look, this is what I want. What can you give? Or I don't want that. I'm just here for this. So the closure becomes a lot easier for somebody who's been transparent. So when you find a situation where somebody's being ghosted, no, it's easy for them. They was like, look, this is what it is. This is what I wanted. I'm not getting it. I'm out. And the person that usually is caught off guard is the person who wasn't being genuine. Dare I say that? Because there are some situations where you were being genuine, but the other person wasn't. So there's always a power dynamic. There's always a power imbalance of who's trying to get over, and you never know until that situation occurs, and somebody just they want to know why. What did I do, or what could I have done to make things better? Now, I've been in that situation before, and I talked about this, probably the week or so after it happened. Went on a date with an older woman, and I had my speculations when she said we're not gonna work out. I had my speculations already um, pretty much chiseled into concrete. I just wanted to reaffirm, and she reaffirmed what I was thinking. I was like, all right, cool, no problem. Now you could call that closure, but there wasn't anything that wasn't put on the table initially. No, initially she didn't say what her quote unquote deal breakers were, and I'm okay with that because for me, that's a lot of women's deal breakers, which is why I always put that out there. I put out there, hey, look, Football season's over now. I'm looking for a therapist, but we'll see how that goes. But I don't have a car, but I can get to and from. That's not an issue. But if this situation comes out, this is how I deal with it. And for a lot of people, they say, "Hey, look, I don't know what you think this is. This is not a charity case. Hey, look, you want to take me out or whatever the case is, you pay. Cool. Me, I'm an equal opportunity offender. Look, you said let's go out. Now, if I told you let's go out, I'm picking up everything. You ain't got to worry about that. But if you invite me out, there's certain concessions that I will make. If you can't meet those concessions, the closure has already been sown. I'm just waiting to walk through the door. And once I walk through that door, it's pretty much a done deal. Now, that don't mean we're enemies. And I think that's what a lot of people think about situations that requires closure. For me, I'll simply say this. Closure just requires some information on how how the things went down. In the military, they call it after briefing. I'm sorry, they call it debriefing. Pardon me. So you find out what went wrong, what went right, how can improve things. It's not good, it's not bad. It's just an exchange of information between two people or groups of people. That's it. So don't necessarily look at closure as a bad thing. Don't look at wanting closure as a bad thing. However, if you needing closure so you can move on and the other party isn't giving it, that goes back to what I said earlier. That's a power dynamic that that party, in my opinion, my unprofessional opinion, is using to keep you held hostage. And the longer you allow yourself to be held hostage, the tougher it's going to get. Closure's got to come from within, and that's what the clip said. You get closure by walking away. So whatever wreckage is there, as long as you can walk away from it and hold your head high and say, "Look, I did everything that I was supposed to do as a person in that position," that should be your closure. But that's my position.
Just looking at my notes. So stand where you are, no longer growing. We already know how that go down. It has to
Well,
be
I
something.
I think with that, and that was interesting because, and I'll use a botany analogy. In order for a plant to grow, especially when it's taking up all the room in the pot, they tell you plant it in a bigger pot. But you got some people, they want to get big, but they're afraid to leave. They say, "Well, man, this city is all I've known. When you want to get bigger, hey, you got to go to some place where you got room to grow." Some people say, "Man, I'm scared. I'm apprehensive." Hey, you want to play in big time basketball? Go to a big time college. Just think back to when the Big East was the Big East. Everybody went to Providence, Rhode Island, Georgetown, Syracuse, St. John's. You turn on basketball on a Saturday, you was either there or out west. You weren't looking to go anywhere. You say, "Hey, I want to play with the big boys play." Now with the nil deals, you say, "Look, as long as I can hit a college court, I can do that." It's tough. So in order for anyone to grow, you got to grow where you can. You can't stay in a small pond being the biggest fish because you're only gonna get so big. There's only so much to feed on. You got to go somewhere where you can grow. You got to go somewhere where what feed you will allow you to get bigger in a bigger pond. So that's essentially what that was saying.
And yeah, and that holds true in relationships. It holds true in careers and all that stuff. We could look at it in a job aspect. You may seek to be at a different level, but you don't grow until you take a chance. So you stay where you at, but you no longer growing. You like, oh, it's the same old job, same old task, same old pay, and all that stuff. Years just go by. But sometimes you got to shake it up and you're at a crossroad. But you know what you're going to get from this particular job and it security, but maybe it's not security because you want more. You want more for yourself. You want more. You want to be able to travel. You want extra money. You want to remodel your home. You want to get new furniture. You want to get a new vehicle. You want to do other things, but you may be limited because you stand where you're at. And you're not willing. You have to be willing to take a chance. And that's the same thing in relationships. Some people settle. They'll say, well, I know what I'm going to get from him. I know what he do. I know what his vices is and all that. If I step back out there, I don't know. I don't know. He never put his hands on me. He just, he pays what he pays and he does what he does. But it's not lighting my fire and I want more. But I'm scared to date someone else or go out there because you don't know what you're going to get. So sometimes it's about, I guess you just got to step out on faith and see what happens to grow. And it, you know, that's going to probably require positive people, people who've been in that situation, who made a move, and those probably are the people you're going to have to connect with. Just your everyday people who ain't with nowhere, ain't did nothing, you're going to get the same results, the same answers for them. But you might be on some trailblazer type shit like, yo, I'm about to do it. And all you need is somebody to say, go ahead, no matter what. If you fail, we'll be here for you to have your back. And sometimes that's all it takes. Somebody to push you. You sitting there in the shallow end, about want to get in the deep end, and somebody just push you, give you a little nudge, and you're like, "Oh shit, I'm about to drown." But then you realize, I'm good. I handled this shit. I was scared. I was uncomfortable. This ain't nothing. This one no different than the other one. I'm all right. I didn't went to the deep waters, and now I'm good. Who gonna push you to the deep waters? And and I can say all this because I'm at a crossroads myself, and I'm going back and forth. And I know what I want to do. I know what I got, but I know what I want to do, and I know that I'm on the second half of my life, and I know what I see, and I know people my age, and I know even going back home when I see people my age and they in fucking walkers on fucking
Yeah,
canes and fucking that's not me.
yeah,
Fuck no. Like I don't want to be to the point of broken down because remember, mind and body. My mind is tight. Now my body I gotta do a little work with. But my mind is sharp. Uh, and I gotta get the body right, but I can't do that. Not at 55. I can't be in no fucking walker, no cane and all that. And I knew better from that when I told y'all that story during COVID. And I went to one of the biggest malls and I said, man, my back was killing me. My son said, if you get in one of them damn things, don't talk to me. Don't, do not talk to me. And I said, why? He said, because you're too young for that.
yeah.
And I said, might be a tear came on my eye. I said, you right, man. I got to get right. Because no kid, and I tell you this for y'all Older people want to have babies and shit. No kid want no broken down damn mama and daddy that come up to their school on a walker and all that shit. And I know I'm being facetious, but I'm being real because I had these conversations. And nobody wants that in middle school that your kid, your daddy 60 something, and they fucking daddy 28, 29, Nike dunks, Jordans on, fit, ready to hoop. Yeah,
Wetsuit the whole nine.
yeah, and yo, dad, they gotta have accommodations coming through for them to. But this is a shit. No, seriously, this is stuff you have to think about, man, for real.
Oh,
But
and
nobody
trust me,
wants
I
that.
do. I do. This is it's funny. And when I talk about this, I talk about it from this aspect. I said, look, I'm in my mid 50s. What the hell I look like going up to a high school basketball game rooting for my son, not my grandchild, my son.
Mm.
Uh, not gonna be able to do the the thought scares me. People don't get it. Don't get it. I said, and it's not that I'm at that point in my life where I'm physically incapable of it. I said, mentally, that shit don't look right. No, I don't mind going to a high school football game and cheering because that's what we're there for. We're the crowd. We should be urging these young people on. But to do it as a parent, oh hell no! Me now, where people actually have adult children in their 20s, and I'm just like, this is why it's so wild for me to even consider dating somebody younger than 25. Dating somebody that's younger than 30 kind of just like, yeah, she's got to be exceptional in some way for me. That exception can be a number of things because I've seen one or two. But other than I'm just like, yeah, you got to be at least 35. People say, why 35? Because I graduated high school in 1992. That'll be 34 years. You at least had to be out of the womb when I graduated. That's just my thing. It's not about wrong. It's not about right. It's not morality. This is just my thing. So eventually, they get around that age. At least, they've had some life experiences, particularly if they've had a child. Now I encounter one lady, oddly enough, when I was on the job this past week. And yeah, cold approach, shot my shot, and landed successfully. Who knows what will come of it? Don't know. Don't care. I just had to see if I had the chops.
Big
Yeah,
chops.
yeah. What did the song? And three times dope. With Funky Dividends. He said my compliment came through in the clutch. So, that's how I test to see if I still got it. And I still, even at 280 something pounds, I still got it. That's why I lack confidence even at my advanced weight. And some people say, "Oh, well, no, dude, just say you ain't got it. It's just easier that because you still trying to grow in the pot you in. Me, I'm in another pot. I got lattice work for my rose petals. I got to keep them. I got to keep them so they grow right. Because if I don't, they subject to get me in trouble. So I keep them on the lattice work and keep them right.
Yeah. So, and if y'all see how this works, but sometimes you have to give people something in a message in an unconventional way, and know how I know because one of my counselors that he followed me on LinkedIn. He gave me encouragement. I said, I know, and I've shared this before. I said, I know this ain't the conventional counseling way how you do it. He said, no, don't stop. Do it how you do it. How you do what you're doing get your message. There's more than one way to reach people, to give them your message. And I wholeheartedly believe it. And it may not be traditional. And sooner or later, you'll find more people trying to take on this method. Uh, but I'm steadfast. I'm gonna be the trailblazer on what I do. And we're gonna move on to point eight. Um, Arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you.
Yeah.
That's big too, because some people, no matter what the frick you say, they're gonna find an argument or rebel against it. Ain't nobody got time for that shit. It might be something small. And again, that's the same situation I said. Remember I said that guy 3, 4 years ago? No matter what, they got some rebuttal or something to come back with. I don't got time for that bullshit. For real. Play with your kids or play with your mama
Yeah.
or something. Don't play with me.
Yeah.
Don't play with me. I don't got time to go back and forth. I don't do that no more. I did that on North Avenue as a kid. Grown ass man, whatever. You want to argue with somebody? Argue with somebody else.
Yeah.
Argue with somebody your age or something. I ain't the one. I ain't the one. And some people, that's all they do. I gotta have something to say, no matter what. You see it on social media. It be the same trolls. You post some, it's the same people. Because a lot of times I killed a lot of them because I said 9 o'clock Monday nights when we was on Thursday. 9 o'clock Thursdays. Where you at? Where you at? You want
Yeah.
the link? I don't be up there. Really? I didn't see you always commenting or something. Come live, show face.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Not only women, guys too. They talk a lot. Keyboard warriors and all that stuff. Show face. Let's see who real. Nope. Won't do it. All of a sudden they got the measles, mumps and rubella and all that shit. And they balled up under covers, whatever. And they don't want to talk, whatever. But you want to talk all that. I'm not about to do all that for real. Because you want
Yeah.
to misunderstand everything I got to say.
Yeah. Those people are gonna be plentiful, especially the more successful you come. They just looking to try and chop you down, and it's it goes hand in hand with that the publicly trying to embarrass you. Just cut them off, leave them. You don't need them. They're just detractors. More people that want to feed off of you, leeches. Get rid of them. Let them go.
Right along. That the fantasy people would change because you love them. Uh, when people think, oh, we have love, people's going to change. He loves me. She loves me. They're going to change. I done said time again. People only change when they feel uncomfortable. And here it said when people are, again, pain. I always say, mention everyone. Pain, fear is what caused people to change.
Mm-hmm.
And it said pain or discipline forcing them to. So it's kind of the similar thing. People only change when they get to that point of it's a painful situation or they got some type of fear factor. Other than that, what's the point of changing?
Right.
And you think, oh, but they said they loved me. I love them. But sooner or later, you grow past. Love is not the equalizer to everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many other intangibles that you got to think about. And if you base it on, you said you love me, they're not probably going to change. But if you say, you know what? If you start leaving subtle hits, uh, even if y'all living in a complex or somewhere and you leave subtle hints, uh, new complex built, and they see applications and all that shit, and they're like, Oh shit. Uh, and they see you, making moves and you doing things differently. Oh, you gonna see some change. And now they shook. Like, what's going on? Like, damn, she or he used to respond to this. Now they just keeping it moving. They always got something to do. Their days are planned. Their the days off is they got stuff going on. Shit, something going on here. Yeah, that uncomfortableness. You might see a shift. But if you keep doing what you're doing and you don't clean that clutter out, they gonna like, "Ah, I'm good. She ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
She don't do nothing." But all of a sudden, she's like, "Oh, I'm going here. I'm doing that." She living life, smiling, looking good, lost weight and all that. Yo, fat sub eating ass. On the couch thinking everything all good.
Yep.
Shit, she making moves.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's people have to understand, why people change, and there has to be an impetus there for the change to occur. If not, simply put, it is not going to happen. And a lot of people get comfortable where they are, and they never want to move off of that spot. Now, don't misunderstand, being comfortable, because everybody wants to be comfortable in some way, shape, or form. I'm comfortable sitting in the seat, comfortable wearing the fleece. That's not necessarily the comfort we're talking about. We're talking about the kind of comfort that doesn't allow an individual, or doesn't even push an individual to challenge certain things. So, for them, coming home after a nice day's work, putting their feet up on the chair, in the recliner, feet up on the ottoman, if you will, and a nice beverage, that's life for them, and they don't want for anything else. And you know what? Good for them. But it's the people who want for something else, but they don't put themselves in a position to get something else. And they're always crying about they don't have enough money. They're always crying about nobody wants to date them. They're always crying about this. Well, damn, you don't have a plan for success. And this is something we touched on earlier with one of these. With the hard work is not alone is not enough. You got no plan. I don't care how much you let her think. Does she want to find the things in life? You're attractive, but you're a terrible mate. He's gonna want somebody that treats him better. Don't care how much you love him. All that other stuff is weighing on him. It's weighing on her. So they out. No closure. They're gone. Gone. Number vapor trails. And you didn't see it coming.
Yeah. So you see how this works. So, and again, most of y'all might not see it because y'all ain't watched it live, but you'll see clips. You know the clips coming. But 10, focus for people who are stuck in your past. A lot of people you can't let go. Folks in your past. And prior to the social media age, you didn't know how.
Yeah.
You really didn't have ways of telling who was stuck on people in their past. It was had to be verbal or something like that. But now through social media, you know, you ain't deleted them as friends. You still commenting. You still hearting up shit. You still all on their stuff. And you know, as my grandmother and any other old people would say, they ain't studying your ass, but you still. They just used to
Heard
make
that a
up
lot.
stunting. I guess I don't know. Maybe that was their word for stunting. They ain't studying
Studying
your
the
ass.
study. Yeah, they they
Yeah.
they ain't worried nan about you. They don't care, don't know you exist. Hey, don't even know if you're still alive. So why are you wasting time studying them? Yeah, yeah. It's tough, man. And I think this goes hand in hand with the change for love. You know, somebody that's not worthy of being in your presence or present. Let him go. Let him go. That's like trying to swim with ankles with weights around your ankles. That's just not fun. And it's hard. Swimming is a lot easier when your ankles are free of weights, free of unnecessary burdens. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Let them go. Let them be what they are, but let them be what they're going to be and be what they are without you having to carry any burden.
So that's this is just as we close it out. This is just one of the ways. Got to clean out the clutter. You know, we always talk about spring cleaning and winter cleaning and all that stuff. But sometimes you got to release all this stuff throughout time. And it doesn't happen overnight. Nobody expects the transition for people to be cutthroat and say this or that. But there's some telltale signs that you say, it's not working for me. I gotta my quality world is better without this person than with them. If your quality world is better with them, then you have to go to the lab and figure out how to make things better. But for the most part, think about how you feeling internally and what you want for yourself. Then you have to make moves. If they holding you down or holding you back, then you got to be out. Simple as that. Because time don't last forever, and you get a certain age, time is short. It really is
Very.
short, shorter than we think, and you don't want to think about it. But even if you say, "Hey, look at your genogram and think about when family members died," and you say, "Yeah, well, my pops died at 60 something, 70. My grandfather died at this age. Um, 10 years away from that. Damn, do that make you uncomfortable?"
Yeah.
Let's say, damn. Technically, based on my family history, no male has the current males that I did research on never lived past 70, and I'm 58. It's different things that, far as technology and health wise, that you could do, but it's still something that got to be planted in your head. Say,
Yeah.
shit, technically, I only got 12 more years to live. That shit gets scary. I don't know if we are. I mean, I know some of you say, well, it was meant to be, and it was time for me to come along, and that's the way it was. Fuck that shit. Excuse my language. Nah, man. Nah, man. I want to live forever if I ain't living it without pain. I want to live forever. And I know that's not possible, but that's just how I think. I want to extend it. It's time to go. It's time to go. It was time to call me home, and I had to serve my place in a better place. Y'all keep that energy over there, for real. I'm
Yeah.
so bad.
You know what the funny thing is? I look at my maternal aunt who did the vast majority of rearing me and then my mother who lived to be 84. Between those two, there's 19 years difference lifespan. So I'm like, okay, I lived longer than my aunt, but I still got to catch my mother. So I don't know what's going to be in between those two ages. But you know what? I do know this. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it. I'm going to enjoy it for what it's worth. And we talk about retirement. You talk about your RV thing. I'm talking about getting a motorcycle this year. I'm going to enjoy life. I ain't working all these
You
hours.
better not get your ass on no motorcycle. You on a suicide mission.
That's side that I and the motor red words of Redman. I'll be that. I'm getting one. I ain't gonna be no crotch rocket. I ain't gonna be. You ain't gonna see me zipping through traffic. Doing lane split unless things get that bad here. But Yeah, that's the
Nah,
thing, man. For me,
le-
'cause I don't realize I don't got this winter has shown me one thing, especially lately. I don't like walking in these cold ass temperatures. Not that having a a bike is gonna change that because it's too damn cold to be riding any goddamn way. But I'm just like, you know what? I got to do something, man, because the colder it gets, the worse that wind blows. I'm just like, and I don't think I'm gonna be moving anytime soon to a new location. So I got to figure out something because it's been cold as hell the last 2 weeks, man. I'm just like, I get to work and I realize I'm heavy, but I'm just like, yo, my fingers are cold. I can put my fingers in hot chocolate and pull them out and be looking like it's a chocolate fudgesicle, man. Fingers be so damn cold because I do everything possible. Like I got headgear, so my face and everything is covered. Heads are covered, but fingers, man, there's nothing I can do. Mittens or nothing, man. I'm just like, shit, it's crazy.
nah, man. I'm gonna say this, man. Live your life. If that's something you want to do, I'm thinking of health, safety wise, whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
Always love, brother. So that's what I'm saying. Whatever, just be safe, whatever. But I do understand the accomplishments that we have to do, and sooner or later, you have to start gauging time and say, shit. If that ain't making me uncomfortable, then something has to light a fire in you to say, shit, I gotta make a change
Yeah.
and do whatever. So that's the whole message of
Oh yeah.
tonight, whatever, just to put everything in perspective and to think about it. Now y'all gonna carry on and do what y'all got to do. But at least you'll say, shit, they said that. I seen that clip when they said that. They did mention that. And hey, that's what you gotta do. So any closing comments from you, Big Bad Wolf?
No, man. Like I said, when you see me on the grandpappy bike, you know it's me. I might have a wolf helmet on with the hair going backwards, but you gonna know that's the big bad wolf pushing me.
Right on. And when y'all see that big sprinter coming through in Niagara Falls, you're like, oh, David Time, it says C2 on the plates. He killing the game. He killing the game. He making content and killing the game and dropping off loads and he living. Yeah. He also shit got put on and he got put on the education circuit because he got schools like, oh, we want you to come speak to people about the counseling profession.
Yeah,
Hey, I mean, you got to live life and you got to do it with purpose. You want to do it with fidelity and you want to be healthy doing it. And you got to know when is when.
yeah,
And sometimes we know that. And like you said, even in relationships, you got to know this is the time I have to walk away. Sometimes you got to know when to walk away. And with that being said, our ass is about to walk away on y'all ass. Stay tuned
yeah.
for next week. We'll see y'all again. We out.
Yeah, take care.
Peace.